So I'm a little younger than most of the guys who've gotten into building their home arcades and that sort of thing. But for me, arcades do hold a near and dear place in my heart. When I was a kid, I remember going to the mall and being able to stop at the arcade. And I remember even when you had more big commercial arcades like Palladium that were a thing, and going there and trying all these different games as a kid and always being blown away by them. And I also remember even playing some of the games that I had on things like Super Nintendo and N64 even, and trying them in the arcade and being blown away by how much better that version was than it was on the home console. And so for me, that's a very deep part of the nostalgia I have for retro gaming. And in this video, I'm going to go into kind of my main reasons for why I decided to start a home arcade and some of the things that really sparked me to get into it. So we're going to get into that just after this.
You lose perfect.
So when I was a kid, the game that I was obsessed with in the arcades was Street Fighter 2, and believe it or not, I'd played it at a couple different arcades. But where I really fell in love with it was at a family vacation at a trailer park. There was like a little like mom and pa shop, and inside there they had a Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition unit. And I remember as a kid thinking that was the coolest thing in the world. I remember even thinking to myself, I wish I could have one of these myself. And fast forward years later, I saw that that Walmart that they were having these becoming a thing with Arcade 1-Up. And I saw a couple of the display units and I was blown away. I thought it was so amazing that someone had went ahead and taken basically my childhood dream and turned that into a mid-size arcade cabinet built for your house. And at that time, I remember seeing the price tag. It was a little out of my reach. I wasn't making as much money at work as well. And so for me, I kind of put a pause on that, but it was something that I remember I just kept thinking about. I remember I kept thinking about when I was a kid, going to that little diner at the trailer park, and how much I loved playing that game. And that was a game that wasn't just in the arcades that I played it. I had that on Super Nintendo. I even bought it on like the Xbox Arcade. That's a game that to me is like one of the best games ever made. I'm not very good at it, but I love that game. And so over the years, I kind of kept keeping tabs on that. I even considered buying a full-size, like authentic arcade cab of Street Fighter. And then the global pandemic hit. That ended up happening, and I was in a weird scenario like everyone else where I was trapped at home. I was basically stuck in my house all the time, and you couldn't really do anything, and you couldn't go anywhere. And I'd started looking on Kijiji, just casually. And what happened was I actually went to a Walmart. I saw that they had these Street Fighter units on sale. I went to go buy it. They were completely sold out. So then I was like, okay, I don't know where to get these. I'm very naive about this brand. I don't really know what sort of community is behind this. I'm kind of out of the loop. So what I ended up doing was I looked at Kijiji and I kept typing in arcade unit Street Fighter. And lo and behold, I found a very nice gentleman who was selling me the Arcade 1-Up Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition cab for $250. And he threw in the riser for I believe like another $50 or something. So I got the full package for about $300. It was in relatively good condition. I still have that unit to this day. And that was kind of the start. And at first for me, this was more of like a man cave thing. I was going to play it for a little bit, and that was going to be my fun, during the last lockdown, or the one of the 1,000 lockdowns that we had. And then it basically turned into an obsession from there. Now, I don't have it anymore back here, but I ended up getting like a Galaga machine as well. And then I also got the Marvel Superheroes cab. And from there, the whole thing expanded, blew up. Became an obsession for me. And the biggest thing that I realized as I was doing it that I loved about it was, yes, I like playing these games. I love having people over, hosting them to play these games with me. But what I really enjoy is just the atmosphere of being able to come down here, especially after a long week, turn those machines on, hear the different attract modes play in the background and kind of get a piece of that nostalgia. That to me is bigger than even some of the games on here. No, I'm wrong. I love playing the games. And that's something that for me was very, very important. It really added an authentic experience or feeling that I don't really get by emulating it. I don't really get by putting on my Xbox. I don't really get by playing on my PlayStation Classic or any of my other devices. I really get it from having those machines on and even looking at the artwork. I know some guys, they like to stack their units close together, and that's cool. But for me, I used to love that as a kid, looking at the artwork and seeing that. And so that's why I have mine all spread apart, because I like to be able to look at the side artwork. It adds to that experience for me of feeling like I'm in a retro arcade. And the fact that Arcade 1-Up brought that is something that I truly love. I know some guys are very divided about them as a brand. For me personally, I like them for what they are. I know what they are. I know they're not complete recreations, but they give me that piece of nostalgia that I got when I was a kid. And to me, that's invaluable. And that's a feeling that with each new one of these units that I get a piece of that again, and I get that feeling. And so for me, that was huge. The other thing was my son. Him and I liked the idea that he got to explore all these cool different games with me and got to play them with me and re-experience them for the first time. So it kind of made me re-experience them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that was a big deal too. Especially during the pandemic when we couldn't do anything. It was awesome even when I was able to build some of them with him. And we got to sit and play them. And now my daughter, she's starting to get into them as well. Those things alone, that's something that I don't get from playing Xbox. I don't get that from Oculus Quest. I get that from having these retro-based units that fit conveniently and nicely in my home. And they're more than big enough for me to play and recreate some of those experiences. So this video is more or less kind of almost a nostalgic video about how I got into this and why I'm still into it. And I'd love more than anything to hear your guys' comments and your experiences about why you got into this and really what drew you to this hobby as well. So leave that below, and of course subscribe and like if you like my content. Thank you. Thanks for watching.